Hey guys, it's me. It's Queen Haru, and thank you for joining me for another wonderful edition of Ask an Aquarius. If you haven't already, please hit the red subscribe button and smack the bell. Also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, pass it on to somebody else who might like it, and remember to drop us a positive comment in the comment section. And don't forget to stick around to the end of the video because I'm going to read two of my favorite comments from previous videos. So, I was talking to somebody about the paranormal in general, and I was saying that I'm a skeptic. And the person was saying to me, how can you be a skeptic when you've seen spirits, you read tarot, you do magic, you're a priestess? How can you be a priestess and a skeptic? And I said, just because you're a skeptic doesn't mean that you don't believe these things are possible. I know they're possible. I've seen them. I've seen them. Other people have told me their experiences. I know that the paranormal, and some things are fake. Some people fake their evidence and things like that. But I know that the paranormal, to whatever extent that I've seen it or experienced it, I know is true. So when I say that I'm a skeptic, I'm not saying that I don't believe it. I'm saying I'm skeptical when other people come and tell me about things. And I'm going to tell you why. When people come to tell me about their paranormal experiences, I just listen. I just listen to what it is that they have to say. Because I learned two things from being in this world. The first thing I learned is that many people have had experiences and are telling you the truth about their experiences. I've heard lots of stories that rang true just from looking at the cards or from asking them questions. But I've also, the second thing, come across a lot of people whose imagination has taken the best of them, and I have to decipher between the two. So when somebody tells me a story, I am skeptical until I do the cards and intuit or look into their story. Because so many people have told me stuff that was straight their imagination. I'll tell you some examples. One guy said to me, I'll never forget, when I first really started doing, priestess work, a guy said to me, he asked me for a reading first. We did his reading. We talked about what he needed to do to move forward. Then he asked me, what did I think of J-Lo, Jennifer Lopez? I like J-Lo fine enough. I don't really know her, so I don't know, who she really is. But he asked me, what did I think of her? And I said, beautiful young lady. What? And he was like, he said, you didn't mention her in the cards. And I said, I didn't see her. Do you know her? Maybe I missed it, And he was like, J-Lo is my soulmate. She's my twin flame. And I was like, oh, I missed that. That's a big thing to miss in somebody's cards. Usually, it might be a small indicator that they, that something. It should have said something, an indicator that he was a hard fan or something if she was his twin flame. So I was like, so what makes you think J-Lo was your twin flame? So the more he talked to me, I realized he had never met her. He did not know her. He had been to one of her concerts and she looked in his direction and he felt as though she was giving him the eye. That's what he said. And I was like, what the hell? So he wanted me to do a love spell because he was 100% certain that if I did a love spell on J-Lo, she would realize that this man who she didn't even know was her true love. This is why I'm skeptical about stuff like that. Okay. Then another time, somebody told me, and I've heard this one more than once, but I'm thinking of one in particular. Somebody told me that they thought they were possessed. And I might have told you all this story from more than one situation. And the person told me they thought they were possessed. And I was like, why do you think you're possessed? Because that's a really big thing to say, And they were like, because I keep hearing scratching in the walls. So I was like, oh, that's not good, because everybody knows that demons scratch on the walls. So one of the things you learn from doing this kind of work is debunking. So when you debunk something, let's say somebody tells you they have demons in their walls, the first thing you do is try to debunk it. You try to see if there is any other possible reason other than demons that they could be hearing scratching in their walls. Come to find out, a squirrel had burrowed into the roof and had babies. So the scratching she heard was the squirrels climbing on her roof. So she was 100% correct. She was hearing scratching, but it wasn't demons, it was squirrels. And I've had this happen with squirrels. Another situation, I think it was a raccoon. Somebody else had mice. It was different situations that people said to me they thought they were possessed or they thought they had demons, period, point blank, because they heard scratching. And luckily, because I know, I'm like, okay, let me see what's going on here. Because a lot of things can be debunked. Scratching is just a common one. It's other ones too. So a lot of things can be debunked if you just take your time and look. So when I say that I'm a skeptic, I'm not saying I'm not a believer, because I believe. The things that I've seen and experienced just myself are enough for me to be like, okay, I know this is real. This is definitely not my imagination. I know my imagination, because my imagination will run away with me. And I know my imagination, if I think something's in the closet, because I've been watching horror movies, because I have a tendency to watch The Conjuring or Annabelle or something, and see something in the closet, I know the difference between my imagination and if there's an angel around me or there's a spirit around me. I can differentiate the two, but not everybody can. So I know when I'm talking to somebody that first and foremost, I have to make sure that what they're saying is real. I know they think it's real, and a lot of times they will swear, but sometimes, as we can see in those two cases, it is not. Now, mind you, the first gentleman was just delusional. He didn't even know this person. And he just, from her eye contact, in that concert. And you know how singers be singing and looking around, And I guess she must have made contact with him for a second. And he got it in his mind that she was his twin flame. So I am very skeptical in those ways. Whenever somebody comes to me, I have a priestess right now that I'm training. And it's so funny because she always teases me and she says, when you first met me and I told you about my experiences, you did not look impressed. You was just like, And I was laughing because I remember that. And it wasn't that I wasn't impressed. I was just thinking to myself, is she really seeing this? Or is she really experiencing this? Or is she a nut job? I was asking myself that in my mind. But after looking at her cards, it was undeniable. She had the gift. She had several gifts. She has several gifts. And it was undeniable at that point. But when she first said it, I did. I think she expected me to be intrigued or, really? And I was just like, oh, okay. I was just kind of nonchalant about it because until I see them cards, that's why I gotta see the cards first. Then I'm like, okay, now I see what's going on here. And it cracks me up every time she talks about it because she was saying to me, not anything major. It was just small things that she has experienced, like dreams and visions. Like, for instance, she was telling me how she would dream of something and then it would happen. She was just telling me about things like that. And I'm just sitting there like, I knew all these things are possible. I've experienced them. But is she experiencing them is my question. Is he, she, whoever it is experiencing these things, or is it their imagination? And one thing I learned as a reader, as a priestess, is that a lot of people's brains do play tricks on them. And then they're sitting there looking at me, scared. And I'm like, it's okay, Another thing I've noticed is that sometimes people will go talk to another reader before speaking to me. They might talk to a palm reader on the boardwalk, or they might talk to a psychic or something like that. And some of the times, again, skeptical, some of the times these people are not the most ethical. Some of us are not. Some of us are, very much so. But some of us aren't. It's like anything else in life. You got good people and you got bad people. You got good readers and you got bad readers. And some readers will tell you that you have problems that you don't have so they can charge you astronomical amounts of money. It's one thing to charge you $70 here, a couple $100 there, depending upon what the person is doing. But if they're like, oh, you got to give me 3,000 just to do this reading, stuff like that is a real red flag. It's like, what? I remember this woman said to me on a boardwalk that she wanted to read my palm. The very first thing that I found weird is that you're a psychic and you don't know I'm a reader. You should automatically, maybe not know what to call it, but you should feel something like, she didn't know that. And I thought that was really, really like, Like some things you're not going to get. If I read you, I'm not going to see, in 60 minutes, I'm not going to see your whole life. There are going to be things I'm not going to see. But things that are majorly important and relevant to that reading, such as when I said to her, I read myself, she said, oh, you shouldn't do that. That's bad. You shouldn't read yourself. And I'm looking at her thinking to myself, bitch, do you know who you talking to? Obviously not. So that's the kind of stuff that makes me skeptical. So it's not that I don't believe, I really do scrutinize very seriously and really look to see what's going on, because I've seen so many people try to take other people for a ride. I've had clients come to me because another reader tried to take them for a ride, and they come to me and they're like, oh my God, do I have a curse on me that goes back 20 generations and I got to pay you $10,000 to take it off? And I'm like, whoa, wait, whoa. What? Where did you hear this? And some of these stories be so wild. Like, I remember one person said that they were talking to this psychic, and the woman told them that their son had passed away, his son had died. And she was saying that your son is still using. How is your son using drugs and they died? And they were like, oh, well, you have to pay me so I can release his soul and he'll stop using drugs. And I said to her, I said, I'm glad you had the common sense to come talk to me, because how is he passed over and using drugs? That doesn't make sense. I don't care if he went upstairs or downstairs, or you believe he's in purgatory, or whatever you believe a soul goes. I've never heard of them having heroin. Never heard of that. So I'm like, what the hell? So she was clearly trying to play on this mother's grief, But like I said, it's one thing to help somebody through a situation, do some candle magic for them. But if a person is charging you astronomical amounts of money and telling you shit that's nonsensical, 9 times out of 10, they're trying to scam you. All right, guys. So let's see my favorite comments. The first one came from Jordan Oliver. I've read a lot of Jordan's comments. Jordan is so cool. Jordan said, the reason we choose people who are not relationship material is due to attraction and other qualities we like about them, ignoring the fact that they're not good for us. Yes, this is why I tell people not to have sex fast. Because if you start having sex with somebody really quickly, I don't think it's a negative as far as like, you're immoral or something like that. But what does happen is you bond with them too quickly. You bond with them sex is a very meaningful act, even though a lot of people treat it like it's not. Sex is a very energetic and spiritual act. So if you start to bond and have feelings and start to cuddle and hug up with a person, it is easy to ignore things. It's easy to ignore red flags. It's easy to make excuses for them. It's easy to say stuff like, oh, it's going to be okay. It's easy to do stuff like that. So that's why I tell people, keep your drawers on at least 90 days and hang out with them. Go places with them. Do non-sexual things with them. And you will see, if you're paying attention and following your gut, you will see, should you keep talking to them? Should you keep spending time with them? Because the average person, if you're not sleeping with them and they're hanging out with you, eventually their true colors start to come out. And you're not going to be that quick to ignore them because you haven't developed this bond, this emotional, spiritual, sexual bond yet. Your energies are still a little separate. So you can still look at them and be like, and really be objective about it. I know for me, I'm not as objective with somebody when I'm sleeping with them. Bottom line. And I've talked to a lot of people and they're like, you know what? You're right. And that attraction, that sexual attraction, especially if it's great sex, you end up with that person making all kinds of mistakes. Now, this one came from B. Hey, B. B said, Aquarius here. I see getting in too deep and big possibility to get hurt. Also, I have things to do. I don't want to have a man in my head all the time. Who, child? I have to paint my nails, dance in my kitchen, walk my dog, laugh out loud. Right now, I'm enjoying being single and dedicating all my love and energy to an amazing person, me. That is really cool. I feel her 100% on this one. And I understand the possibility of getting hurt and all those kind of things. But the bottom line is that sometimes, a lot of times, especially after a breakup, this is where we need to go to. We need to go to a space of just catering to ourselves. And all too often, we jump from relationship to relationship. So B is saying, I'm just going to love me. And that's a smart thing to do. Love yourself, heal from the past, and when you're ready, if and when, you'll move on and you'll do something else. Enjoy it. Enjoy walking your dog. Enjoy dancing in the kitchen. I know I do. All right, guys, it's time for me to get going. So if you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Also, make sure if you want a reading that you email me. All my information is underneath this video. All right, guys. See you later.